Fletcher. Now sit back and prepare to be entertained. Welcome to the Dripping Bucket Podcast. Welcome to the Dripping Bucket Podcast with your hosts, Krystle Matar and Michael R, whatever the fuck my last name is. Today we are joined by that guy.
Clayton Snyder, who is a double SPFBO finalist, and also a double Michael Fletcher victim. And
Yeah,
he
I have
did
killed
other
him
things.
twice.
Yeah, exactly. Clayton, do you want to tell us very briefly about kind of some stuff that you've written, if you like it anymore or not?
I don't like most of what I've written, but I've written a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
So that's extremely brief.
His current SPFBO finalist is called Cold West, which is a horror Western fantasy novella mindfuck mashup. Previously, he was SPFBO finalist for the book that he wrote with some weird guy that we know called Norylska Groans. And my first introduction to him was a book called River of Thieves. So there you go. You should buy all three of those books and then come back and listen to what we have to say. How's that?
Yeah. River of Thieves is the one I haven't read yet.
Oh, really?
I read Obsidian Psalm after seeing I think I was just releasing the first book in the Obsidian Path trilogy. And I was like, Obsidian Path, Obsidian Psalm, like, what the fuck is going on? What?
Yeah,
Why?
you guys launched it about
and so
the
I
same
read it
time.
to see, like, sort of suspicious, and I liked it.
This
and
motherfucker ripped me
then that's reading that actually led to Norylska Groans.
Yeah.
And then what the fuck else?
You
Blackthorne.
did Blackthorne, yeah.
Yeah, read Blackthorne.
I didn't touch that one. So between the two of us, I think we've had our fingers on all of his books. And as soon as I said that, I regretted it. But it's in the recording
We've
now.
put our fingers in them.
I mean, sure.
Wait a minute, it's awkward, Krystle.
So, Clayton, how did you get here?
I'm not going to say chloroform rag because that definitely didn't happen. How did I get here specifically?
Okay, so the serious question is kind of how did you turn from a reader to a writer? Like, is there a moment that you remember that flipped the switch, or was it kind of inevitable, whether you were aware of it or not, or something in between?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of two things. I grew up reading a lot of Stephen King and Clive Barker.
Okay.
And it was a lot of their short stories. And I remember thinking, God, it doesn't, when you break them down, they're not that difficult to write. And I kind of wanted to try my hand at least. And
we're all laughing because we're really jaded now.
And as it turns out, I'm stupid. And boy, was I wrong. So that's kind of how I started. But at the same time, it was also like a spite thing because I was seeing a lot of garbage in media, and I was thinking, if this person can get published or this show can get made, there's no reason I can't make something shitty and put it out there. So it was kind of a combination of those two things.
I can't say I'm surprised at all that spite is part of the reason you're here. Like, it just 100% tracks for all of you. Yeah, the Stephen King horror influence is definitely showing your work. Like, even when you're not trying to be in the horror genre, it's still pretty horrifying.
Yeah. Is it just me, or are King's short stories actually better than his novels?
His shorts are better.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And Barker can go either way. He's had shorts that have stuck with me for 2 decades, and he's had books I've completely forgotten. It's gone either way. But I mean, there are books like The Great and Secret Show that I don't think I'll ever forget. So
And that's more horror again, or
It's
excuse my
more,
ignorance.
it leans harder towards fantasy.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay, so definitely you're the meeting of the two genres, I would say.
yeah.
And so then, was it ha 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 easy to get your first publication? You were with indie presses before you self published, weren't you?
Yeah. Oh, wait, what was I? The first indie press I landed with was Curiosity Quills, and it was oddly easy. The first book, which it shouldn't have
Lulled
been.
you into
Yeah,
horrible complacency.
yeah, because it turned out to be an incredible shit show. Um,
Like almost every single small press.
yeah, I learned the
I
hard
Yeah,
think
way.
there are probably one or two good ones out there, but I mean, for the most part, they're really not offering anything you can't do yourself now.
Yeah,
yeah.
And
yeah,
Although this was when we were first
yeah. This was
talking.
almost a
Was like
decade
this
back.
was Oh, okay, even further back than me then, because I remember meeting you in around 2017 or so, give or take, and
Yeah,
that was a long time
uh,
ago for young people, was it?
yeah, well, I think it's also kind of a long time ago, just based on how much my understanding of the business has changed
Mm.
since then. Like, it's not so much a long time ago as much as the previous 4 or so years have aged me by 4 decades each.
Yeah. Well, we're like dogs.
Publishing.
We get writer years.
Yeah, exactly.
Like how old are you in writer years? Like 70.
Yeah, exactly. How old are you in writer years, Michael? Like
Yeah.
652.
Yeah, Jesus. So I think by publishing, I was published in 2013 first,
Okay.
but I started
Oh
writing in
wow.
2008.
Wow, you're out to pasture now, man. Like,
Ah,
how are
yeah,
you
like I'm
still
old.
walking?
Limbs just randomly fall off and shit.
And that's why you write Necromancer.
that makes sense.
For
Yeah, wish
hope that you'll
fulfillment.
get your exactly. um, I totally forgot any follow up questions that I would have had. So I think Michael, you're gonna have to say something intelligent.
Oh,
Just
okay.
earn your place.
So you are in this year's SPFBO, quite possibly the
SPFBO.
most prestigious fantasy competition on this or
Ever
any other planet that we're aware of.
in this universe.
Dish,
Yeah.
what's going on? I
It's
know like one or two of the other finalists, and that looks like an interesting group this year.
yeah. None of us really know what's happening. It's complete confusion.
But you've done this before. What what
Yeah,
don't you know?
it's like all of us were in a car crash and we all have amnesia. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's sadly relatable. Actually. Yeah. So
most of the rest of the group are fairly new authors or fairly new to SPFBO even, and really don't know what to expect. Really have not gone through even this sort of review process. So they're kind of there's a whole lot of anxiety and jitters and then
yeah.
there's me kind of sitting in the corner chewing on a cigar and just stitching
Gallon
my
of
wounds
whiskey.
together.
Yeah.
So
I've
it's
seen things, folks.
right. just a facial tick going on. So
And I'm sure the presence of your stress just makes it worse for them because it's like, what did he go through?
yeah,
Look
no,
what the last one did to him.
I pretty much just ignored the whole thing, which is not like me. But I think at this point I'm maybe a little bit too jaded. So.
In your defense, you're also super busy with like real life, which
Oh
is
god,
helpful, but also oh god, exhausting. Yeah.
yeah.
So would you say it's easier to ignore this time around, the second way through, or
Yeah, and,
yeah,
and there's not. This year seems different. There doesn't seem to be as much chatter around the finalists. I can remember like when Sword of Kagan went through, or your book, Krystle,
yeah,
or even Blackstone Heart. There just hasn't been it seems to be a more eclectic bunch, and people don't seem to know what they like this year. So, we've got cozy mystery, we got a grimdark western, we've got we've got a little bit of everything in there, and it's just
you've got like science fantasy.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. The Last Ranger looks like it's going to be like high fantasy. I think like kind of old school. Although I'm just totally guessing based on the vibes of the cover and stuff.
Yeah, I think there's like a steampunk Regency.
Okay.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in there, and it's almost like the readers are just kind of scratching their heads as to, okay, what do I pick? So.
Well, but that spread exposure. Hopefully, it turns out good for you guys, so that there isn't so much of a spotlight on any one book, and everyone's
right.
Everyone becomes the underdog. So then, who do you root for?
Right. Yeah.
All of them. I don't know. Maybe I'm too optimistic.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about too in the Discord. Is it's more like for us, it's more like a team sport. It's
yeah.
God, let's just hope everybody gets decent reviews, so there's not one person that's just left drowning. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are going to have to come up with a mascot shortly.
A la the Frogcorn, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead. What? You go.
I was going to say, have you read anybody else? But that kind of puts you on the spot. So.
Yeah, I read.
Oh, you did. I was surprised.
Yeah, it's not very often I read other people all that immediate because my TBR is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I read Connor's The Fall, and it was very good. It was like Zelazny meets China Miéville.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it's
that's high praise.
It's incredible character work mashed with just the weirdest shit you can imagine. And it's
that tracks.
It's so good.
I'm gonna tell Connor that you said his book was good. And his
I told him the other day.
Spontaneously combust. Yeah, but you get a lot of mileage out of every compliment. It's amazing. He's worse than me.
Yeah, it's a very good book. I started The Last Fang of God. I kind of flip back and forth. I've been reading 2 books right now, so because I read In the Shadow of Their Dying, and then I went back to Last Fang of God, and then I flipped back to Neuromancer. So I'm currently kind of splitting my time between 2 books. So
In the Shadow of Their Dying is plug for that weird guy that we know, and
that
was wonderful and talented Anna Smith.
I've heard good things about the book, novella, whatever it is.
Yes, it was very good. So.
It's Anna Smith spark. It's kind of
Yeah.
Of course it's good. And then there's that other guy.
Some hacker in there too, and it was pretty decent. So
it's passable, maybe. So what are you working on now? What are your plans for the future there, Clayton?
Oh Christ, am I actually working on something for once?
You are, and you've told us about it, so now we'll know if you're lying.
Yeah, I am working on a kind of a villain origin story. It's this group of mercenaries, traveling mercenaries, that basically blow into a town, and it starts a little bit after that, but they blow into a town and decide that this whole country they're in is just run like shit. So they take it over. And from there, they decide that, war is stupid. The way things are run is stupid. So they have ideals, but people should conform to their ideals.
So you've gone completely apolitical. There's totally cozy, no grimdark at all.
Yeah, it's think River of Thieves, only evil.
Yeah, and River of Thieves as a baseline was pretty off the wall, so I can imagine.
So, but it's going to be told from kind of Chord's analog point of view.
Chord.
Yeah, so.
Cool. Yeah, looking forward to reading that one when you get it all finished.
Yes, I am a chapter and a half in.
No pressure, but pick up the pace there.
Right.
But you were off, not working at all for a while, and it seemed
Yeah,
like
I
you were.
took a whole year off, and it was just it was
Oh,
painful
yeah.
and it was miserable, and I couldn't make words come at all. I started, I think, 3 or 4 books, and I got 10,000 words into each of them, and they were all garbage, every one of them. So
I bet they're not that bad. But I mean, who amongst us hasn't felt that pain of, I think I knew how to do this at one point. I'm not sure anymore. Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny how like every book starts with, so how do I write book? Like you finish a book after like months of editing, and then you start promoting it, and you go, wow, finally I can write a new book. And you sit down with all your ideas, and it's like,
oh shit.
So
hard.
How the fuck do I do this?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm living there right now.
Every time.
Just like, yeah, it's just like, I swear people liked the other one enough to make me think I knew what I was doing, and I guess I was lying to myself or something, because this is all shit. It's just a phase that we have to fight through, and then we hate it when we're editing it, and then we hate it when we're proofreading it.
Mm-hmm.
The only time we don't hate it is when we're marketing it. Hey, I did it! It's great! You should read it! And then we go back.
Yeah,
what would you say? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna say I've gone back and I've read and I've listened to Cold West a few times, and I've
oh
God, I hate that book now.
No. You're supposed to like it at some point, Clayton.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever reread any of my books. Like after they're published.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I mean, shit, that was half the reason I wanted Clayton to help write the third Manifest Delusions book, so I could ask him what happened in the last 2 books, because I was like, there's no fucking way I was picking up Beyond Redemption again.
Yeah, I enjoyed rereading them.
At least one of you did.
Right.
I bet the third one's really good. I hear great things about Clayton Snyder. Would you say anything in particular kind of shook you out of that that year of misery, that island of suffering, or
no, no, sadly no.
no. Okay, this is where I admit that I've been stalking you, because you actually sounded hopeful about this one in a way that you hadn't before. Over the last year.
Honestly, I it was a new year and I hadn't written anything for a year, and I kind of took stock and I went, fuck, I wasted a year. So I sat down and I just started writing, and I thought, well, it's not going to write itself. And I haven't done any work in a year. And it just kind of felt like I was making excuses. So, it was time to put the work in again. So
yeah, just kind of like
you can only take so much time off and say you're refilling the well before the well is refilled, and if you're not getting the inspirations, because you're not putting the work in. So
yeah, and then also kind of saying fuck it to what you think people expect you to do.
Well, that was the other part of my problem, was that I was feeling like there were these expectations, Cold West 2 or Blackthorne 2 or any of these other books, and it kind of was reaching this head where I didn't want to write these other books. I wanted to write the books I wanted to write.
Yeah.
So I basically said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write the book I want to write. So all the other stuff can wait. So
I think that's a very relatable process that I suspect a lot of us go through at some point in the career, and probably a few times over and over again, learning the same stupid lesson, where our relationship with writing changes once we're published and once we're seen a certain amount, and then suddenly it's like, okay, I gotta do this and take it seriously, and I gotta sell, and I gotta do this, and then suddenly you're not writing because you enjoy it anymore, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. For all that we complain about what we're doing when we're doing it, there's a lot of love in it. And then when we forget that we love it, that's, I think, when we do kind of bottom out our worst moods. We're very moody as a culture.
Yeah.
And the pressure we put on ourselves to, every follow-up, you're sort of like, how are the reviews going to be? Is it going to sell as well as the last one?
Yeah.
And that first sort of shitty review, you're like, and if your expectations aren't met, it makes writing the next book harder. It's like, wow, why the fuck am I doing this?
Well,
but then also sometimes if the expectations exceed what you were expecting, it's like, oh shit, I can't follow that up. What am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Right. Yeah, that's that was a part of my other problem was I'd sit down to write and I wasn't feeling the sense. And it's stupid. I wasn't feeling any sense of accomplishment. I was sitting down to write, and I was writing 2,000, 1,500, 2,000 words a day, which is decent for me.
Excellent. Yeah.
And I wasn't feeling like I was doing anything. I wasn't getting. I was sitting there screaming, "Where are my endorphins?"
Those bastards abandoned me.
Right.
Writing without the endorphins is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not getting like a little bit high while I'm working, then it kind of doesn't happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's and I think that's part of because I keep lately I've been checking off these boxes of things I wanted to accomplish, and I'm sitting here where it's like the next thing I want to accomplish is kind of way up here. It's like, oh shit!
You gotta add a couple of steps in there, maybe.
Yeah.
So that
How do I get from where I am to up there without a goddamn jetpack? So, and it's this whole jumble of serotonin and endorphins and just brain chemistry that isn't cooperating with will and effort and everything else.
Craft and prose and yeah.
The body is willing, but the will is spongy and bruised.
On that very hopeful note, you folks should all try writing. I swear, it's great.
Write a book; it'll be fun.
Right? Yeah. It's not at all
You'll enjoy
like
it every step of the way.
Yeah, it's not at all like having a wood bit drilled into your skull. I promise.
I'm so glad we came together to inspire people.
So we'll be much more upbeat in the next episode, I'm sure.
Yeah. Also with Clayton Snyder, who may not change the tone of his voice anymore. I don't know. We'll see. Well, that puts us pretty consistently at about our green zone of the amount of time that we're willing to waste on
spend with each other.
Yeah. So thank you, Clayton, for coming in and helping us get this off the ground, and congrats on being a finalist again, and thank you everybody who listened to us shoot this shit for 25 minutes. And we'll be back again next week, or however fast you binge through these episodes.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, man. Cheers.